What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and it's a very unusual time for me to upload a video, but I just had some of the most insane battles you are ever going to see with two of the new shadow Pokemon in Archen and Archeops, and I just had to go and record a video straight away, despite the fact that it's literally 2 AM for me right now. Now for anyone that doesn't know, these Pokemon are insanely attack weighted and have a similar attack stat to Shadow Haunter, so honestly I wasn't expecting these battles to go very well, but I just couldn't stop getting ancient power boosts. In my first set I had 5 boosts, averaging a boost every single battle, and when you think about how attack rated these Pokemon already are, when they boost they deal insane damage, and it wasn't just that one set either. I got so many boosts that from watching these battles you genuinely think it's a 50% chance, which by the way is definitely not the case, it's just a 10% chance. But yeah, anyways, these battles were so crazy, so let's just get into the question of the day. What is your favourite fossil Pokemon, or any Pokemon that resembles some sort of prehistoric animal? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle with Escavalier into Mantine, so obviously not a great lead, and we're going to say swap straight away into the Archen. Doesn't really matter which one we swap into, they've got basically the same stat product, the exact same moveset, same typing. We go for the ancient power and we get the boost right off the bat, so definitely going to be shielding, and the opponent is going to bait with an Aerial Ace, which is unfortunate, but they swap into Ferrothorn, and here, unfortunately, all of my charge boosts are resisted, but we are boosted. We fire off the ancient power, and that does huge damage. You would not expect that to be a resisted charge move, let alone an ancient power. Ancient power, not even a good move either. But either way, we put them into range where we can just come in with the Escavalier and go for a full counter farm down. And you can see I'm running Drill Run and Acid Spray. That is just because I don't have too many charge TMs, and we are in the middle of a Team Rocket event where I kind of need to save my TMs to get rid of frustration. So I'm keeping Acid Spray. It didn't really help me that much in these battles, but either way, I'm going to tank the energy there, basically just force them to waste a bit of it, and then come in with the Archeops once again, going straight for ancient power, and once again we get the boost immediately there. So this is insane. Gonna shield up the Ice Beam correctly, and now we can overfarm. I didn't want to overfarm too much there because even though we're boosted and Aerial Ace is resisted, I didn't want to take any extra damage there. So the opponent comes in with a Gastrodon, and we're going straight for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw, non-stab, 35 energy charge move, but it does that much damage up against a pretty bulky Pokemon. We put them into range where we can honestly just go for an Acid Spray really, but either way we're going to go for the Drill Run, and Drill Run from this range gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. Now unfortunately the app crashed right after that battle, which was kind of strange, but I did get credited with the win, which is good news. But either way, into next battle, and GG's to that trainer by the way. Gonna lead into Lantern, and this is kind of why I'm running Escavalier. It's got Drill Run for coverage, it's also going to be good up against those Ferrothorn, and if I was running Aerial Ace it would be decent up against Poliwrath as well, which by the way can actually beat my backline despite the fact that they're flying types, just because counter does so much damage and they're just not very bulky at all. But either way, the opponent's going to double shield their Lantern, which is super painful. We're going to correctly shield up the Thunderbolt there. Honestly, they could just go straight for a Surf. But either way, gonna fire off the Ancient Power here. Ancient Power gets the KO, and we get the boost once again. That's insane. Unfortunately, even with the boost there, we're not going to live the counters and make it to another Ancient Power. So I have to settle for a resisted Dragon Claw, but look at that damage. We're now going to come in with the Archen. I'm going to no-shield this. That's a resisted Drill Run. What the heck is that damage? And now unfortunately they will be able to Bullet Seed farm me down. We go for the Ancient Power. Unfortunately no boost this time around. They get the Bullet Seed farm down, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into next battle, see Jellicent in the lead. So this is a very frustrating core breaker to the team. I'm actually just going to stay in. I was hoping they would just fire off a Surf straight away. We're going to bank the energy. They actually go for a Bubble Beam there, which is probably worse for us because we're still going to have to shield. Like, a Bubble Beam is nearly going to take us out anyways, but they are also going to debuff my attack, which is not ideal. We're going to fire off the Dragon Claw here. Archen could also learn Crunch, by the way, so we grab a shield there and we throw on the CMP tie. So Dragon Claw, number 2, coming through, and they actually double shield their Jellicent, which is very interesting. From the wing attack damage there, you can see Bubble Beam basically KOs. From the wing attack damage, we put them into range where Drill Run will basically KO. So I think after maybe 3 more counters, I'll throw on the Simpy Tie with the next potential Bubble Beam. And from this range, Drill Run does get the KO there. They come in with their own Escavalier, so I'm going to fire off the Drill Run straight away. I'm basically either going to force the opponent to throw their energy or just get countered down there, and we're going to come in with the Archeops. They've got Ferrothorn in the back, and this should be okay. We've seen already, Ancient Power does some pretty decent damage here. The wing attacks are, of course, neutral damage. They go for an Acid Spray, which is not ideal, but honestly, it doesn't make a difference here. We go for the Ancient Power, and once again, Archeops getting the boost. We didn't even need it this time around, but either way, Dragon Claw will now be enough damage to get the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG top opponent there, into next game we see Escavalier into Lantern once again. So yeah, unfortunately, Escavalier does get outpaced to the first charge if they go straight for a Surf. If they go for a Thunderbolt, then that's actually great for us because I'm going to shield anyways. But at this point, because we've landed that, I can now just let this go. And the opponent will be going for a Surf. We can tank down. I'm hoping I can get a counter farm down, but unfortunately, they just barely hang on there. You can see my Escavalier's got Australian IVs, which if you don't know what that means, it means sort of upside down of the PvP IVs that you'd want to get. Honestly, I had a really high ranked Escavalier, which unfortunately, I've already powered up for the Ultra League, and I think it is a rank 1, so I kind of just had to use a random shiny that I've got. But either way, we're going to come in with the Archen here. I'm definitely just going to be shielding this. As we've seen already, Drill Run would basically KO us from that range, so going to have to double shield. Luckily for me, then at least not going for Acid Sprays, which would be really, really bad. But either way, they're going to come in with a Ferrothorn, and this is unfortunately game over. We're going to fire off the Ancient Power here. Ancient Power does not get the boost. We're now going to go for a Dragon Claw. I'm hoping that I can go and get damage registration error and fire off another Dragon Claw, but we're not able to do so, and they can just fire off a Charge Move straight away anyways. And from this range, of course, anything they throw, even an Acid Spray, would get the KO, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see a Poliwrath in the lead. So this is sort of okay. I'm expecting to grab a shield anyways, as we could be running Aerial Ace. So this is actually really nice here. As we can go for the Acid Spray, they're actually just going to go for an Icy Wind. So I'm going to let this go through. And because we've debuffed their defense by 2 stages, look at that wing attack damage. We get the full wing attack farm there. Although, honestly, we're taking like as much damage from those neutral counters, which by the way, our defense wasn't debuffed at all. It's just, it deals that much damage. We go for the Ancient Power and we get yet another boost. This is just insane. We're going to go for a Dragon Claw here. Dragon Claw with the boost puts them into farm down range. Unfortunately, we don't get damage registration error once again, but it doesn't really matter. They don't have that much fast move pressure. They've got Credilli in the back, so of course we've got our Escavalier to just fully counter farm down the Ferrothorn. So I'm going to play it safe, come in with the Archeops here, just go for back-to-back Dragon Claws from this range. I think a Dragon Claw would get the, well, actually not from this range, but by the time we make it to another charge move, a Dragon Claw would get the KO, so it will be game over. I think I might just go for the Ancient Power anyways, just to play it safe here. Of course, Ferrothorn does have a charge move already loaded, but it doesn't make a difference here. They're not at back-to-back charge moves, so of course, no shields remaining. Power Whip gets the KO, but 2 counters, takes out the Ferrothorn, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there, and we do go 3-2 in our first set with this team, including 5 boosts, which is insane. But into next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Marwile running Fire Fang in the lead. Obviously, not very good for our Escavalier, so definitely going to say swap straight away into the Archen, going for an Ancient Power, dealing huge damage, and the opponent overfarms, allowing me to make it to a Dragon Claw, and Dragon Claw will, of course, grab a shield here. At this point, the opponent is going to farm up to back-to-back Surfs, so there's actually no point in me fighting for switch advantage. I'd have to double shield, and being down a shield, my Archeops isn't going to be able to do anything, so instead we take that shield advantage, but I'm going to use it straight away here because I realise Marwile doesn't have any charge move pressure really, it's just a Fire Fang. So if I can get all shields down from the opponent with my Archeops, we might be able to land a Drill Run, so that's definitely the plan anyways. Gonna fire off the Ancient Power here. Ancient Power goes unshielded, but again another boost. What is going on? Honestly, this is like a greater than 50% chance at this point in time, so we are now going to overfarm here. I'm going to throw at the last possible second. Honestly, we prefer if they do shield this, and they do shield, and now this is game over. Of course, no shields remaining. We've seen already, even with a boost, Power Whip gets the KO, but we get the counter farm down. Yes, Fire Fangs dealing huge damage here, but a single Drill Run from the Escavalier will be enough damage to take out the Marwile, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Escavalier into Pelipper. So once again, gonna be safe swapping into my Archen, and the opponent responds with a Poliwrath. Now you can see these counters are dealing slightly more damage than the wing attacks here. We're gonna fire off a Dragon Claw. We grab a shield there, and we do just barely make it to another Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is gonna be no shielded, but it doesn't quite take them out there. So they do maintain alignment. At this point, I think I'm just gonna let the Escavalier go like, if they fire off a dynamic punch or a scald, then so be it, but they actually bait with an icy wind there, which is absolutely okay with me. I'm going to wait. I'm going to try and swap here as soon as I can, and they do actually wait out the switch clock long enough, but they've got a lantern in the back, so unfortunately there's just nothing we can do here. I'm going to fire off the Ancient Power, hoping for the boost con once again, but unfortunately this time we don't get it. I'm actually not even going to make it to an Ancient Power this time around, and honestly, if my Escavalier had Aerial Ace, then maybe we had some play here if I just shielded once, went for a Duron, and then maybe went for a couple of Aerial Aces, but either way, unfortunately, because we're running Acid Spray, we can't really touch that Pelipper whatsoever, so I'm just going to let them take me out with the Surf and the Spark damage. But GG's to that opponent there. Into next battle, we see Ludicolo in the lead, and they're going to say swap into a Quagsire, so going to fire off the Drill Run straight away. Now Quagsire is an interesting one because it's got very little fast move pressure for my backline, but of course if they're running Aqua Tail, which they are, then of course that's basically going to one-shot, I mean it almost certainly one-shots us. I'm not even going to say basically, yeah, I'm going to say definitely it one-shots us, so I'm going to have to shield those. We are now going to go and fire off a Dragon Claw on the CMB tire, expecting to grab a shield here, which we do, which is okay. I'm going to shield as well because I can go for the Wing Attack farm down. And we've already seen they're running Ludicolo in the lead, so we know we're going to do pretty well into the Ludicolo, but let's see what they come in with, and they come in with a Poliwrath. So again, I will be able to make it to back-to-back Dragon Claws here. The first one probably grabs the shield, it does grab that final shield, and now we can fire off Dragon Claw number 2. Dragon Claw is of course gonna connect, and we do get them deep into the red health range. Now they come out with a charge we've loaded. I'm just gonna sacrifice Escavalier. I'm hoping Archeops can live the Razor Leaf damage to fully fast move farm them down here. They swap back into Ludicolo. I think this is Dragon Claw range, so we just fire it off straight away, and Dragon Claw gets the KO, and we can just barely get the Wing Attack farm down up against the Poliwrath, and like 7 or 8 battles in, and that is our first win without getting an Ancient Power boost, which is pretty crazy to say. But into the next battle, and GG's to that opponent, by the way. Gonna lead into Ferrothorn, which is amazing, but they say swap into Lantern, and this is absolutely awful. I mean, obviously we want to see it here, but because they swap out straight away, they actually outpace me to that first charge move, so the fact that they're actually behind on energy because it takes 1 turn to swap actually doesn't make a difference there at all, so that is definitely bad for us. I will just barely live this. I'm hoping they just let this go through here. They probably will no shield because they realize, well, we've basically taken out the Escavalier. We can actually come back in with the Ferrothorn, which is definitely not ideal for me, but we're going to swap into our Archen, and because we get the 1 turn swap there, unfortunately they do outpace me to the charge move, so I'm going to shield this up here. Obviously I don't know what they've got in the back, and they come in with a Force Palm Lucario. Lucario, unfortunately, one of the worst things we can see here because these wing attacks, yeah, they are neutral, but both Ancient Power actually is double resisted, and Dragon Claw also resisted. Doesn't do much damage there unless they randomly throw, and I came in with my Escavalier. Yeah, I just can't do anything here. They do correctly over farm, not that it really matters. Thunder Punch easily gets the 1 shot. One more Force Palm takes out the Escavalier, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Pelipper in the lead, and again they're going to swap into Poliwrath, and this is okay here. It kind of just depends. Maybe like if they've got a more attack weighted Poliwrath, maybe we could take out a Poliwrath with the next Dragon Claw here, but we're going to fire it off straight away. Dragon Claw doesn't quite take them out there, and they do just barely hang on, so very unfortunate there. But either way, going to come in with the Escavalier, going to no shield this once again, and this time the opponent does go for the skull, dealing huge damage there. If they come back in with Pelipper, unfortunately we're not able to swap out just yet, so I'm going to go for an Acid Spray. I'm hoping to grab a shield here. Acid Spray is unfortunately no shielded by the Pelipper, but they swap into Registeel, and you'd think, like, we get completely walled by Registeel, but it doesn't matter. We go for the Ancient Power, and Ancient Power gets the boost once again, and suddenly this is looking doable here. We're going to shield, they go for Focus Fast, they don't even fish for a debuff with the Zap Cannon, so I now overfarm here. I'm 1 away from the next charge move. Ancient Power actually grabs the final shield from the opponent. That's a huge mistake, I believe, because Pelipper was absolutely loaded. But I realized at this point, they actually don't have any shields in place, so I could just farm to the back-to-back Ancient Powers. The first one will be enough to take out the Registeel, and this Ancient Power is going to be huge overkill, but it will be enough damage to take out the Pelipper, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there, and that's the thing I love about Registeel. As someone who loves to use glass cannon Pokemon, it just has no fast move pressure, so these Pokemon that are just absolutely awful can actually do stuff even when they're in matchups that are supposed to be huge walls for them. But anyways, we're going to swap into Archen here up against the Mantine. Unfortunately this time we don't get the boost there, which is, it felt like it was almost a guarantee at one point, but either way, they're going to swap into Ferrothorn, trying to catch a Charge Move. Either way, we're going to be throwing Ancient Power anyways. Ancient Power goes unshielded, and they're actually going to overfarm. They throw on the CMP tie. If I can grab a shield here, that would be amazing, and we grab a shield from the opponent. So at this point, definitely going to let the Archen go down. They did overfarm just a little bit here, but it doesn't really matter. We can come in with the Escavalier. They actually don't make it to a Charge Move anyways, which is huge for me. And again, I'm just going to wait for the opponent to throw here because Archeops kind of needs to shield even an Aerial Ace. So we're going to swap into the Archeops right now, and they've got a Poliwrath in the back. But unfortunately, they are running Power Up Punch, and that is not good for me. I was thinking, honestly, because Archeops is just slightly more attack weighted, you can see with the IV spread, maybe we could have taken him out there with a Dragon Claw at the last possible second, and then thrown an Ancient Power into the Mantine. But unfortunately, because they boosted up their attack there, we live one less counter, and unfortunately, it doesn't work out for us. So we fire off the Acid Spray, doesn't help me at all. They go for an Aerial Ace, taking out the Escavalier, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Ludicolo in the lead once again, double resisting the Razor Leaf damage. They're going to swap into Poliwrath, and honestly, at this point, I was thinking, okay, I'll go for an Acid Spray here, grab an early shield, and then wait for them to go for an wow, I can't even talk, an inevitable Icy Wind bait here. But because they waited so long, like the counter damage put me into range where I kind of need to shield that anyway, so we swap into Archen. Luckily for me, I don't take any a second Icy Wind there, as I do get the farm down in time, but just not ideal there because Escavalier is incredibly low at this point. But either way, gonna fire off the Ancient Power. We actually baited with the Dragon Claw. That does huge damage. And I think at this point, I'm just going to sacrifice my Escavalier. That Ludicolo is not making it to a Charge Move. And we've seen already, Archeops can just about live the Razor Leaf damage up against the Ludicolo and make it to a Charge Move. So we no shield, they go for the Shadow Ball. We come in with the Archeops here, and we do just barely get there in time. Firing off the Ancient Power this time around, getting the KO, and we can win attack, farm down the Jellicent to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Shadow Ferrothorn in the lead, and this time the opponent's going to Safe Swap into Poliwrath, and I play it different, and this is just a mistake here. Like all the other times, I've stayed in with Escavalier. I've fired off an Acid Spray there, which pretty much always gets a shield. But this time we swap straight away, and we already know this. Archen does not win this matchup here. We're going to go and fire off the Dragon Claw, but that just barely doesn't KO. That is so unfortunate. But either way, we're going to come in with the Archeops here, go for the Wing Attack farm down. They're probably going to come back in with their Ferrothorn. So definitely not ideal here. We are going to overfarm. We then swap. We try to catch a Power Whip. We are unsuccessful. The opponent is going to go and full send a Thunder, dealing huge damage. And they're actually staying in with the Ferrothorn, which is kind of strange. But we're going to see. We go for a Drill Run here. And they actually had a Lantern in the back. So honestly, if I didn't go for that catch attempt, if I just like left my Escavalier in the back, I would have been fine. But unfortunately, because I went for an unnecessary catch attempt, yeah, we're just not in a good position here, and for science reasons, I'm firing off the Ancient Power to see how much damage it does. It does like, honestly, like 45% of their health, which is kind of crazy, but obviously not enough damage to get the KO, and we do end up losing that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see another Ferrothorn in the lead, so hopefully we can get some redemption, but this time they're not even swapping out, so clearly double weak to the Escavalier. They also go and fire off a Power Whip, which is double resisted. I don't know if they're like running Mirror Shot and Power Whip or like what, but either way, going to go for the Drill Run on the CMP tie, getting the KO there, and they come in with the Poliwrath. So again, gonna go and fire off the Acid Spray, hoping to grab a shield here, and then I should be swapping straight away into my Archen, and we do swap here. The opponent will get off an Icy Wind, but it doesn't really matter. I'm definitely gonna shield this up. Icy Wind is gonna debuff my attack here, but I would still be able to get the farm down, so the opponent swaps into a Registeel, and once again, we're looking fine here. Even though we've only got resisted Charge Move to throw, even though I'm already debuffed in my attack, it does not matter because we're so attack weighted that we will will be able to take out a Registeel with just resistant moves here. So they go for the Focus Blast, getting the KO. We're going to wait out the Switch Clock here, come in with the Archeops, and I'm not even going to bother trying to swap and make a catch or anything like that. I'm just going to overfarm as much as possible. The opponent going to go for the Focus Blast once again, not even trying to go for a debuff there, and that is definitely fine with me. We're going to fire off the Dragon Claw. I was expecting a catch at some point, and I didn't want to go for a resisted Ancient Power and also like waste some energy. So we go for the Ancient Power there. We get the Wing Attack farm down up against the Registeel, and I'm able to take that game. So GG still opponent there into the next game, another Ferrothorn in the lead. I mean, it just seems to be the meta at the moment here. So we are once again going to overfarm. This time, I'm expecting it probably won't be another power. This time it is the Thunderbolt, and they're going to swap into Lantern, and this is just so dumb. I don't know what I'm thinking here. I'm thinking like, oh, I'll go for an Acid Spray, grab a shield, and then land the Drill Run when they're debuffed, and then just fully one-shot them. But like, first of all, if they shielded the first Acid Spray anyways, they're definitely going to shield the next one, because a Drill Run would definitely KO there, or at least it would get them incredibly low, so they're just going to double shield. So either way, such a dumb play. I've still got both my shields here, but there's no point shielding. They're going to make it to another charge move, so instead we're just going to fully sacrifice the Archeops here. And if it is something like the Poliwrath in the back, then we're just going to lose. But if it is something else, then maybe we do have a slither of hope here. But either way, I'm going to shield up the Surf. I'm not going to overfarm too much. Remember, they are still debuffed from the Acid Spray, so I can just go and settle for a Dragon Claw, get in the KO. They're going to come in with the Ferrothorn, and we're going to fire off the Ancient Power on the CMP tie. Honestly, from this range, it might KO. It does get the KO, but they've got a Ludicolo in the back, and despite the fact that we can deal super effective wing attack damage, they can just razorly farm me down from that range, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG still opponent there into the next game, another great lead for us as we lead into Ludicolo. Once again, they're going to save swap into Poliwrath, so once again, going to fire off the Acid Spray here, and again, I probably should just swap out straight away. This time they actually call the bait there, which is definitely not ideal. I'm going to shield this as the opponent goes for a Scald, and now I'm going to swap into my Archeops, or sorry, my Archen, go for the Wing Attack farm down, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come back in with the Ludicolo, and unfortunately, we only make it to one charge move, so definitely no point in baiting here. We go for the Ancient Power, grab a shield from the opponent, but we are going to wait out the Switch Clock, come in with the Escavalier, and they've got a Macargo in the back, but I'm just barely able to make it to the Drill Run. Drill Run grabs the final shield. We can come in with the Archeops. They will just barely outpace me to this first charge move. I'm thinking, honestly, if I can come out with back-to-back Ancient Powers, I should be fine, but then I forgot, oh my gosh, Rock Tomb is going to debuff my attack here, so now we go and fire off the Ancient Power. I probably should have thrown that earlier, and then I would have been able to survive maybe like one more Razor Leaf. Go for the Ancient Power here, and Ancient Power doesn't quite get the KO. We get the simultaneous KO there, and unfortunately we tie that game. But there were a few things I could have done differently. Either I could have thrown the Ancient Power before we took the Incinerate damage, or what I could have done there is gone for one extra wing attack first, and then thrown the Ancient Power up against the Ludicolo, and that way the Razor Leaf that would have taken us out wouldn't have actually been dealt at all, because I would have just got the KO. But either way, we're going to see a Lucario in this next battle. I'm actually able to make it to back-to-back Dragon Claws, which is huge for me, as I grab a shield advantage. Of course, I'm going to use it straight away, but I come back in with the Archeops this time instead, because I know, like, up against their lead, I think I kind of just want to swap straight away anyways, and they're going to come in with the Escavalier here. So we're going to fire off the Ancient Power, but the opponent no shields, and that fully one-shots them. That's insane damage. Of course, up against Lucario, Ancient Power is double resisted, but Escavalier takes neutral damage from rock, so that's huge for me. I'm now going to fire off the Dragon Claw. They're one away from the next charge move, so we swap into Escavalier, trying to catch the move, but either way, this is perfectly fine. They have to go for Hurricane here. Hurricane gets the one shot, but now we can come in with the Archeops, make it to the Dragon Claw in time, and of course, from this range, Dragon Claw will be getting the KO up against the Pelipper, and I'm able to take that game. So GG still opponent there. Into next game, we see Escavalier into Lantern once again. So again, they will outpace me to the first charge move. I'm just going to go for the Drill Run straight away. Honestly, a bit risky to throw immediately because it's a pretty obvious catch attempt from the opponent, and they will be shielding that first move. So I'm definitely also going to shield here as the opponent full sends a Thunderbolt, which is much better for me because now I can outpace them to the next charge move. I'm not going to have to use both my shields here. Drill Run is going to be double shielded though, which is very unfortunate. And this part, I'm going to let this go through, but they did actually overfarm just slightly, which means they will outpace me to the charge move, and my Archen, unfortunately, going to have to shield here. This is definitely not ideal. I'm not a fan of people double shielding their Lantern, but it is what it is. We're now going to go for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will, of course, get the KO from this range, but it kind of just depends what they've got in the back here. So let's see. The opponent is going to come in with a Bronze Bronzong of all things. Like, what the heck is this? You don't belong here, bro. But unfortunately, we're not running Crunch, so Ancient Power doesn't do much damage. And yeah, they're going to outpace me to the next charge move, and basically anything they throw here. Side Shock will get the KO up against the Archeops, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to up there into the next game, another Pelipper in the lead, so gonna say swap into my Archen. Honestly, I don't mind seeing Pelipper in the lead, because if it is in the safe swap position, then we're kind of screwed, because they're just going to outpace me to the charge use each time. But because we swap out and because they don't throw straight away, I can fire off back-to-back Dragon Claws here, and I should be able to grab both shields from the opponent. And it's pretty clear they don't have a great response to an Archen safe swap, so if I just let it go down here, come in with my Archeops, I can once again fire off a Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. I'll be able to take out the Pelipper, and then hopefully we still got a pretty good answer for whatever they've got in the back. So we go for the Dragon Claw, we still got a shield advantage as well. They're going to come in with a Jellicent, so this is actually not that bad for me when I am up a shield. Honestly, I'm thinking, should I just go for Dragon Claw here, because I know Ancient Power doesn't quite deal enough damage, but they swap into Ferrothorn anyway. So we fire off the Ancient Power, we're now going to bank a Dragon Claw, and it's a Shadow Ferrothorn as well. So we've seen already we can just about live a Thunderbolt here, and these Bullet Seeds, they're double resisted, they're not going to get the KO there. So we come out with a Drill Run loaded. I know they're not already at a charge boost, so might as well go for the extra counter, go for good timing. Drill Run does big damage, it puts them into definite range where a Dragon Claw will get the KO. They're not even committing to the full farm down, so now we can fire off the Dragon Claw, and of course from this range we already know this, Dragon Claw gets the KO up against the Jellicent, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there into next battle. We see Shadow Marwile in the lead once again. So once again, gonna say swap into my Archen, and we're met with a Ferrothorn. So again, I'm actually gonna overfarm this time around. So I'm not gonna throw straight away. The opponent will go for a Power Whip, and maybe if I build up more energy, they're more likely to shield this. But either way, gonna fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power grabs the shield, and no boost unfortunately, but I can overfarm once again, going for Ancient Power number 2. Ancient Power gets them fairly low, and at this point I can just no shield. Of course, we're gonna come back in with the Escavalier. I can go for the counter farm down. I won't quite come out with a Drill Run loaded, but that's okay. What I'm hoping to do once again is basically put whatever's in the back into farm down range for my Escavalier, and then fire off a Drill Run onto a no shielded Marwile. But we're going to go for the Ancient Power. Ancient Power once again gets the boost, but actually it doesn't really make a difference in this matchup. I'm going to shield this. Honestly, here I should have definitely overfarmed more than I did. Instead, I go for the Dragon Claw straight away, and you can see that's going to be costly for me as I come back in with Marwile. I couldn't really go for a Dragon Claw there as it is triple resisted, but the Power Up Punch takes me out despite the fact that I was boosted. And now, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. I go for an Acid Spray there, doesn't really matter. One more Fire Fang takes me out, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So GG's to the opponent there, definitely a winnable game for me. But anyways, into the next battle, and we're going to see Ferrothorn in the lead once again. So once again, I can just stay in this matchup, and because they're staying in, they're probably weak to the Escavalier in the pack. But if it is something like a Lantern, honestly, it might be pretty problematic that I let the Thunder go through. But either way, firing off the Drill Run, getting the KO, and they come in with Macargo. So we go for one counter, we go for the Drill Run. The opponent no-shields that. Why did they no-shield? I don't really understand. And they've got Shadow Poliwrath in the back, so there's no need for me to throw any charge moves. We're going to come in with the Archeops, get the full wing attack farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.